Hi, guys. There is absolutely no way to cut it. Things are going bonkers. Now, these are the things we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine. We're going to talk about the rising interest rates and how that affects Bitcoin. We're going to talk about executive orders on crypto that are incoming apparently next week. We're going to talk about the crypto fear and greed index. And then we're going to talk about the 50-week going below and testing the 200 EMA. I know that'd be wild, right? Let's just call it the 200 week, 50 week, and bull market possible rejection, the dollar gaining, and then Nasdaq selling off, to name a few. Let's get right into it. So it doesn't look like Russia is leaving Ukraine. It doesn't seem like it. This is not good news for Bitcoin, obviously, because you can bet the Nasdaq is going to sell off if Russia invades Ukraine. You bet it's almost a certainty, right? And now the UK thinks this is a false flag operation because not Russia per se, but Russian separatists, like maybe friends of Russia, attacked a kindergarten apparently in Ukraine today. And that is spooking the market for certain. As you can see, things are going down, right? We have this giant red bar. What is this? How big is this giant red bar? It's not, it's big. Let's go. It's okay. It's about nearly 10%. So we're about 8% down. That is absurd, right? So this is like some pretty crazy news. This is not what not what the market wants to see. But if you want to buy more Bitcoin at a good deal, look at that giant hole. This is the stuff you want to see. So it's someone shelled this thing and they're kicking it off. That's the first thing I want to talk about. So this is not good news. You need the stability there to really get crypto to stay stabilized or really make some new highs. But that's not going to happen if things like global politics goes crazy because of the associations. Also, this book is really cool. I haven't started reading it yet, but it's going to be very useful, I think. It's going to be a good book to understand what is going on and what we're going to see next. There's a small section I could read, actually, that really, kind of highlight... In fact, the table of contents. The decline of the Dutch Empire and the guilder, which is their currency. The decline of the British Empire and their pound. And the decline of the United States dollar. The United States and the dollar. And the rise of China and the renminbi. So, you get the idea. You get what's going on there. Rising interest rates. Now, there has never been a case. So these are the scheduled dates for the rises of interest rates. Okay, well, not for the rises, because we don't know if these are going to be rises or just. Technically, some of these could be declines, right? They may take down the interest rate if things get really out of hand. If the Nasdaq sinks heavily. Or this is, of course, after we raise interest rates. Let's say we raise it by 0.25 and then we have a heavy recession, which I expect to happen. You can bet that they will try to reduce the interest rate back to zero. And then when that doesn't work, they'll start printing money again, which is great news for Bitcoin. But that money printing is going to slow down. That associated with March 15th to 16th, when they will have their first interest rate hike. Then the 3rd and 4th, I would heavily bet that they have another interest rate hike. And then June 14th, 15th, another interest rate hike. July, another one. So I expect many more hikes. I don't expect this to end anytime soon. That would be if this all four were interest rate hikes at 0.25%, 25 basis points, that would be a 1%. That would be a 1% interest rate at the end of June. At the end of July. I would not be surprised if they raise every one of these meetings. Maybe skip one or two and not raise, but certainly not decreasing unless the economy fully falls apart, which I would put bets down. So this article talks about how it's basically a negative impact for Bitcoin because when the interest rate rises, things slow down, right? A lot of people are buying Bitcoin on credit. That's not going to be possible. That's not going to be pushing the markets up if that happens. So you bet that's not good news. Now, Biden is apparently has his executive order on Bitcoin next week. This is not good news for Bitcoin. When they talked about the tax implications, it was the top of up here. Like literally, it was one of these days in November. That was the top of the market when Biden introduced his tax legislation for crypto. This will not be good news. Whatever happens is going to sink the market further. whatever the crypto executive order is, because it's going to bring more regulation. And you could argue, and I do agree, that if we have more regulation in the market, it's going to be a good thing. I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. But the market is going to think of it differently, because these regulations might hold things back, that sort of stuff. It would be good, though, because in the long run, you're going to have more people like my parents and your parents getting involved, and that's good news, pension funds. But for the near term, I don't see this being positive. And lastly, I want to check up on the fear and greed index, which yesterday was, and so this is obviously in a different time zone, these things guys do it, was 52, okay? And today, it's 30. So 52 is like over here somewhere. So it's neutral. And today, it's 30. It's fear. So I totally expect this to go down further. It's just a matter of time. I totally expect. And let me tell you why I totally expect this to go down further. Every time the 50 week, this is the 50 week here. Every time Bitcoin closes, has weekly closes, this is on the weekly chart, closes below the 50 week, we test the 200 week. Okay? This is absurd. The 200 week's at about $25,000 right now. Okay, which is absurd. So we didn't have any closes here, right? As you can see, so this doesn't count. But down here, right, we've had some closes. Now this was an anomaly, but aside from that, every other time we've had closes below, we've closed at or below the 200, right? Just go look at them. You can go find them in your own chart. If we have weekly close, we go test the 200 week. This is kind of absurd. This is one of those surefire things almost, right? Now, we don't have enough data because it doesn't go 200 weeks past, right? But check this. We close, and then we go and touch. So what does this indicate? What does this also look like? Like let's use this as an example in 2018. If we come down below the 50 week, we're in a bear market. We got to lay it out, right? This is what it is. It's a bear market. It's getting hot in here when I say bear market. But that's what it is. It's a bear market if we close below, right? There's a lot of chop, but we are closing below the 50, and then we end up touching the 200. It's a bear market. There's no way around it. Now, how long does it take from the top all the way to maybe the bottom? It takes about a year, right? It takes about 1 year. So if this was the top, and it is the technical top, right? This is technically the highest point. If this was the top, then and this was April 2021, then we're coming into it, right? Where we're coming very close to the technical bottom, the bottom on this thing. And so there's some debate here. So the question is, are we going to go down like this? Like, are we going to do something and come down, touch this, and then really spike up? Or, and it's a big or, because this is technically the all-time high, because we had a lot of money printing from here to here, right? And so if that's the case, then when you hit 69K here, is that an all-time high? I don't know. But if that's what is considered the all-time high, then we have a long way to go. We have to wait until next November, right? Before we see the bottom. So that's a long way to go. We have a long way. That's like many months between now and then before we see the bottom. So we'll have to wait and see. Is it going to be April or is it going to be November? And we will have price action to indicate whether this happens or not. But this is a frightening statistic. If we have closes below the 50 week, we go and test the 200. The 200 is about $25,000 right now. That makes me want to definitely stop the dollar cost average, or bring the dollar cost average down to something much more much more conservative, like a $100 a day, maybe a $200, maybe a $500 a day, something way less, which would be interesting. The bull market support band. Let's look at the bull market support band. You probably know what the bull market. So I'm going to take away the moving averages. It looks like we've been rejected by the bull market support band, right? This is it, and it looks like we haven't touched it, right? It's not clear, but it looks like. So we'll see what this next weekly close, which is on Sunday, shows a couple days, 2 days, 3 days from now. But this doesn't look healthy. This doesn't look good. Right? This rejection means we got to spend more time below. Right? We tried, but it seems like we're going to spend more time below. So it seems like we're going to do something like this. We're going to come down. Right? How far we come down, I don't know. Of course, I'm drawing lines. I'm guessing these lines, but it's not clear. The other thing is the dollar is gaining, right? This is not what we want to see. Like the Forex, US, DXY. Oh man, look, I can't bring the US dollar up, but it is USD. It is gaining, right? The USD is gaining right now. That's not good for Bitcoin. The US dollar needs to go down because when people go into the US dollar, that means that they have hope, right? That the US dollar is going to be okay. They need to lose the hope that they have to get into Bitcoin. So this is definitely not good news. The US dollar increasing, and as you know, the Nasdaq is absolutely not doing great. I don't know what the futures. Its futures look good, right? But the Nasdaq took a dive today, and we're correlated, right? So this is generally not good news. So we'll have to wait and see. Right? We had a downtrend today. But this is the news for the day. Things are not looking great for Bitcoin, but I don't think that's bad news. In fact, I prefer this. I'd like to see the Bitcoin price go down. I'd like to go see it test these numbers way down here now, 30Ks, about maybe 25. If we go down to 20, wow, that's going to be scary, but I can see it happening. That is the former bull, that's the former high, right? I don't know if we could go any lower than that. Like, this was it. That was the last high in 2018. If it goes any lower than that, that really makes a lot of people nervous. Like maybe 13.6. But we'll just have to wait and see. But my suspicion is that we are going lower, and I'm going to put a short position in shortly, because I feel conviction that we're going to make it down. We're going to go down, test this 100 week. Sorry, the 200 week here. Let us wait and see. I will check in with you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. If you like this content, like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you soon.